I'm an exercise physiologist by trade. My CrossFit journey did not start until about 2017. I'm going to rewind a little bit
Yeah.
and go back to 2012.
Mm.
My entire life changed after I was diagnosed with pancreatic disease slash cancer, but they really didn't know I had cancer at that point.
Mm.
So many things happened to me while I was in the hospital. Beautiful, beautiful, unbelievable moments.
Welcome to the CoachMD Podcast. I'm Dr. Charles Glassman, bringing you 3 decades of experience as a physician and a coach. Join us as we navigate the maze of medical advice with real-life stories, empowering you to take charge of your health. In our That Happens segment, guests share transformative experiences, reminding us that we're all human and not just patients. So get ready for a journey into healthcare reimagined, where empowerment and discovery pave the way. Hey, it's Dr. Charles, aka CoachMD. In my over 30 years of medical practice, I made it my goal to help people create strong minds, healthy bodies, and unshakable spirits. And in the CoachMD podcast, starting off 2025, I've decided to do a series of CrossFit 60 plus, those who are masters at the fitness that I prefer, and those of you who have listened to the podcast know that that's what I do for fitness. I feel it's the best overall type of fitness that one can have, and for promoting health, well-being, and healthy aging. And so I've invited on my podcast master athletes, anyone who walks in a CrossFit gym, whether you played a sport or not as a youngster or as an adult, you are an athlete, because the type of workout that you're going to learn and you're going to enjoy, really enjoy, it is very athletic, and you will learn how to do that with the proper functional movement. So my guest today is Dee Seda.
Hi, my name is Dee Seda, semifinals, Bantam CrossFit, 65 plus division, 2024.
And Dee has an incredible story, not only her fitness journey, but her health journey. And it's really, something obviously that I am very interested as a doctor to talk to Dee, because her story is so profound. And I guess, a lot of times I start off by asking my guests, how they got involved in CrossFit. Um, I'm not sure that the CrossFit came after or before your health journey. So I'm going to let you start kind of how you got thinking about overall your health. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Charles, for inviting me on your podcast. And wow, it's pretty incredible story. So I'm going to try to make this as to the point as I possibly can.
Yeah.
My CrossFit journey did not start until about 2017. I was introduced to CrossFit through my husband, and he was doing CrossFit for quite some time. But I'm going to rewind a little bit and go back to 2012.
Let's hear about that. Yeah.
2012 was a very, to say the least, challenging year. It's a very important year because my entire life changed after I was diagnosed with pancreatic disease slash cancer, but they really didn't know I had cancer at that point. I was really experiencing a lot of acid reflux and GERD symptoms, and decided that, there must be something going on. But let me point out, at that time, I was a runner. I didn't know anything about CrossFit. Didn't even, do any type of barbell type work. But I would go out and run. So I would run 10Ks. I ran a marathon, Marine Corps. I'm an exercise physiologist by trade. So I know a lot about the body, obviously. I was an off-ice conditioning coach, for many universities, traveled around the world, Washington Capitals, the only two female coaches. So fitness was a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
I really was in pretty much top shape at that point. So having these symptoms kind of sent up an alarm. So I went to see my gastrologist and he decided to do an endo on me. And at that point, he found a tumor that was pushed through the pancreatic wall.
Wow.
And major decisions had to be made that day, which they would have loved to have done an ultrasound, as you know, many different types of ultrasound, but the tumor was just way too big.
Wow.
And it was also where the location around the head of the pancreas, they couldn't do it. So I was scheduled for emergency surgery to have the Whipple surgery. You could probably explain to your audience better than I can what the Whipple surgery is.
Right. And I won't explain the details, but what I will say is that pancreatic cancer is one of the most lethal cancers with a 5-year mortality close to zero, unless you have a tumor that where the Whipple procedure can be performed, and then it's potentially curative, but not without a very horrific course where many people don't survive the actual recovery from the surgery.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you can go ahead from there.
Yeah, the recovery is just a journey within itself.
Yeah.
I went into Georgetown Medical with Dr. Linton Johnson. I don't know if you know who he actually is, but he pioneered the Whipple surgery. Excellent surgeon. I was very blessed to just be, put with Dr. Johnson, and he took my case. So
Yeah.
fast forward, prepared myself, my husband and I, the family. I knew I was strong and I knew I was going to fight with all my might. I didn't know what I was really getting myself into until after. And had the surgery. Surgery went extremely well. I had a 4.5 tumor.
Oh my
that
goodness.
pushed through the wall, wrapped itself around the head. So they did remove the pancreatic head. They removed the small bile duct. They had to remove some small and large intestines. And then after they put and the gallbladder, and they put everything on the table, he found the cancer in the lymph nodes. Now, if I didn't have that surgery, you would not be talking to me today.
That's right. Yeah.
So they did remove the lymph nodes where the cancer was as well. Very long surgery. I think I was in surgery for close to 7 to 8 hours. Then recovery starts. Took about 3 days which was a miracle in itself, weaning myself off of any kind of drugs. I was determined to be fighting on my own. I had a breathing tube for quite some time. Once I was able to breathe on my own, they took it out, and I made a decision at that point that this is in God's hands, and I know I'm strong, but I really have to be strong to fight back.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I wasn't going to make it. And so many things happened to me while I was in the hospital. Beautiful, unbelievable moments of just seeing God's presence within. And I'm going to share one of those. I'm going to share 2 of those.
Yes, please do.
But I had excellent care in the hospital. Unfortunately, after about 5 days, the tail of the pancreas leaked. and I had to go on TPN. If that wasn't enough to go through, I had to go through a little bit more. So I'm definitely being tested here.
Yeah.
Um, TPN, you can probably explain
Yep.
more what that is, but that
Sure.
was keeping me alive.
Yeah, let me just say what that is. It's basically a bottle of IV fluid that is filled with nutrition, but it's mostly sugar, really.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so TPN, one doesn't want to have to be on TPN for a very long time because,
Correct.
yes, it gives calories, but it also is a setup for major infection because uh, all sorts of bad things like cancer and bacteria love sugar. And
Yeah.
so, but we need sugar especially if you're not eating to survive. So that's basically TPN is a souped up nutrition with vitamins and nutrients, not something that really is going to sustain one for a long time, but for an
Right.
emergency, it's sometimes is what you need. So anyway, go ahead.
Exactly. Well, that was keeping me alive.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I had to be on TPN for 40 days.
Wow. Yeah.
And think about the analogy there. 40 days in the desert.
Mm.
Who was in the desert for 40 days?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I when Dr. Lynn told me, he said, you just pulled through that surgery like a champ. And he said, I know, despite how disappointing this is to you, you thought you were going to be able to go home, recuperate, build right back up. That type of surgery, you're losing 15 pounds. At that point, before I even had the surgery, I weighed 115. So their concern was how much weight I was going to lose and where would that point be that red alarm would go off. So I knew I had 40 days in the desert coming.
Mhm.
So again, the mindset was, okay, you're gonna do this.
Yeah.
He's putting you through this test. There's a reason why you're going through this test. And it is not for me to know, but it is for me to do to come through. So I was in a hospital for, 2.5 weeks or more. And I called my IV tag along. He was my friend.
Mm.
I don't know why he. I don't know why I
Mhm.
didn't say she, but it was a
Right.
he. He was my friend. And literally, I would just take tag along. I had a private room, thankfully, and I would just walk the halls. 3 days, took myself off of any kind of drug, got breathing on my own. Everything was off. And I thought, okay, here we go. I'm going to run a marathon.
Mm.
I'm gonna run this marathon and I'm gonna come through. And I'll tell you, one of the main reasons I wanted to come through, not the fact that I definitely wanted to be here for my family,
Hmm.
but my at that time late husband was diagnosed with hepatitis C. This is the
Mm.
part of the story that gets even more challenging. And he was going on to the drug called interferon
Hmm.
uh, in the January timeframe. Well, this kind of hit both of us.
Mm.
And we had to put that off so he could take care of me because I needed 40 days that he would have to hook me up at night, three
Hmm.
ports. I had nurses coming in
Yeah.
after I had gone home, but Tag Along and I ran a marathon at Georgetown,
Yeah.
and we literally met so many people. And I will tell you, there's one huge God moment that when they were going in to put all the ports, three, within my abdominal area.
Hmm.
And I was not on any drugs at this time. I was completely off. They could not believe how I weaned myself off so quickly, but I was determined. When I get determined, you have to look out because I'm straight. I'm going on that lane. And I was down in the area of Georgetown where they were putting the ports in, and I had about four technicians in that room. And all of a sudden, I turned around. I'm laying there. I'm not on anything. I'm just breathing. I'm just trying to breathe. And I look up and I see this gold Jesus face. It just took the whole entire ceiling. It it was incredible. It was seeing his face with thorns, and I kept hearing him say, "Keep your eyes on me. I'm going to get you through."
Wow. Yeah, these are great. And I just want to, say to my audience that, I decided to do this podcast, uh, last year, in 2024. And, those of you who know me know that I consider one's spiritual life just as important, or maybe most important, in one's overall well-being and health. And when I decided to do this CrossFit Masters series 60 plus, um, I didn't know Dee. I had no idea, who Dee was, and but putting it out there, she reached out and said she has a story to tell, and I wanted to hear that, and I'm learning, and I've learned when she sent me the information. Um, it's important to know that, a lot of people who may be listening, they say, that's good for her. It doesn't work for me, whatever. But there's a psychologist, Carl Jung, who was one of the most famous psychologists.
Yeah.
He was Freud's
Mm-hmm.
contemporary, whatever. And Freud, of course, was a lunatic, and it was an atheist. But Carl Jung had been asked, "Do you believe in God?" And Carl Jung, who was the purveyor of some of the worst insane asylums in Europe, he said, "No, I don't believe in God. That's a bad question. I know that there's a God." And he
Mm-hmm.
would say that of those people who recovered from, I'm talking about the worst of the worst, depression, anxiety, suicide, whatever, the only ones who actually got out of the worst were those people who had faith. This is what he said. This is what his observation was.
Exactly.
And he said, if you don't have it, fake it till you make it, kind of thing. And then
Yeah.
it'll show, God will show himself to you. And
Yes, he
so
will.
the idea that, Dee, you're describing, and I know in a testimony that I heard that many people were praying for you.
Oh,
And if you
tremendous.
could tell us a little bit about that, and then I want to comment on that also. If you just tell us a little bit about that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Actually, I was a grant writer. I'm retired at this point and worked for a nonprofit, and it was a very faith-based nonprofit for women that were abused.
Mm,
And so my makeup of individuals, not only within my employment, but also within my church, which was Cornerstone Chapel, which they're very well known all over the world. And I can't tell you how many people I had praying for me. I
mm,
had so many people I didn't even know that, in fact, when I was in the hospital, I was not able to have any visitors at all. The only visitors I could have were my pastors and my husband, of
mm,
course, and my two children.
mm.
And that was it.
Yeah.
And they would come in and pray over me literally for 10, 12 straight days. And they would be on a rotation of coming into Georgetown.
Mm,
And then even some clergy there within Georgetown would be coming up. So I was getting preyed upon a tremendous amount, like every few hours, just
mm.
nonstop.
Wow. Yeah. So
Uh,
some people who are, skeptics and will say that prayer doesn't work. Well, why didn't it work for my mother? Or why didn't it work for my
mhm.
brother? Why did it work for Dee? Is that because she's super Jesus follower or whatever?
Yeah,
No.
yeah, I'm
Okay.
not afraid to admit that.
Right, but that's no, that no, I'm not saying that
Yeah,
but the skeptics, but what I'm saying that some people who are super faithful get bad things and they do die. And but the thing
yes,
here about prayer is that what I told my patients throughout the years when family members were sick and dying and they'd ask me, oh, how long? And I said, look, that only God knows. All of us have our time. God has our time. We
exactly.
don't know what that time's going to be. Even when a young child dies, it's terrible, but we don't know that's their time. And so
Exactly.
the power of prayer is if it was Dee's time, well, God would have taken her. We don't know
Yes,
that. As humans, we don't know that. And that's why we need to pray. And we need to pray because if it isn't somebody's time,
right.
that prayer is very powerful because it sets in motion a lot of different factors in, first of all, in one's faith, in their body, in their immune system, and those workings. And so when listening to people who have had near-death experiences, they tell the story how some people do, how they see smoke rising up into the
Hmm.
where they are, and their guide who's bringing them through this experience will tell them those are prayers that are
Yes.
coming up. So my feeling is that if it's worth praying over someone, even if it seems as though it's it's someone's time, because I can tell you right now with a pancreatic cancer that's over 4 centimeters large and
Mhm.
in the lymph node, that's you would think that that was Dee's time. I can tell you as a doctor, people don't survive that. They die
Exactly.
miserably at chemo and ugly deaths within months to a year, maybe, but this is really important. And so, again, I want to, say another thing about that is, we don't know. And one of my favorite proverbs, now Proverbs was written 3,000 years ago.
Mhm.
So Solomon was writing Proverbs 3,000 years ago and said, trust in the Lord with all your heart and all your might. Lean not on your own understanding. So when we trust in God, whether it's our time or not,
Exactly.
whether it's through sickness or in health, we can't lean on our own understanding, because if we do, it's a goner. It's over, because I if I was leaning on my own understanding, I would look at Dee's situation and I would say, CrossFit in a few years, forget it. She's not even going to be
No way.
alive in 6 months. So,
Exactly.
I really appreciate you sharing how your faith and how that prayer and how people were praying over you. And there is something that's very important in there in the power of prayer. And I think that
Powerful.
not it shouldn't be lost
Mhm.
on anyone, and you should, even if it seems hopeless, I think
Mhm.
that it's very important, even if it's just for the person who's praying to reconnect and their relationship with God, and to because
Exactly.
that's for their own health, so they're not sad and they're not feeling that anxiety and that fear. So
Mhm.
yeah, so wow.
Very powerful. Very powerful.
It was a long recovery, I imagine, right? Tell
It was
us
a long
how you
recovery.
got out of that and what.
Long recovery.
Yeah,
TPN for 40 days after I went home. That was dreadful.
yeah,
I would be hooked up. My husband would hook me up at night, and then in the morning he would unhook me. So I had 6 weeks, like literally, including the time I was in the hospital, to
mm,
go. And he was great. I mean, my whole dining room table looked like a pharmacy with,
yeah,
everything had to go in at a different time every day. long story short, I had 1 week to go. I'm now down to about 98 pounds.
Wow. Wow.
And, you know, I could tell you more incredible stories at that
Yeah.
point. Like if you fast, we all fast, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Occasionally here and there. And if you fast for a while, not 40 days, I do not recommend that.
No, right.
But if you're fasting, and I had to fast so long, and just having that little bit of sugar coming in, no water, brush the teeth and
Mm.
spit it out. I'd have to cook for my husband. I couldn't eat the food. I remember Thanksgiving was 3 days thereafter, and I had many people coming over and bringing food, and I didn't want him to suffer. So I wanted he had to keep his strength going for me,
Yeah.
so he
Yeah.
could help me. So it was rough. The walls of my house, the colors changed, like so much change. And I would have all my pastors coming over and praying over me nonstop. But
Mm.
I just want to point out that my relationship, I developed a personal relationship with God. So
Yeah.
I have a very strong, and even way before this happened, faith based on my own personal relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a really important point to really really hound on.
Yeah.
1 week to go. Last bag of food gets delivered. And I was very slow to the point where I was mainly crawling up the steps
Wow.
to get to my bedroom and crawling back down because I was so weak at 98, 95 pounds, extremely weak. The doorbell rings. I get my food. I hear a thump.
Oh God.
What do? I hear a thump. My husband's routine was to go up and have a shower when he would come home from work. And then it would take an hour process to set up the TPN at night. It was 6:15. I heard a thump. I had to go get my food. I went to the door, got my food for one more bag of food, put it in the fridge. 6:30, he's not down yet. He was religiously on time.
Oh boy.
I didn't hear him.
And this was your last bag. This was it.
Yes,
Wow.
I was 5 weeks. 5 weeks. I was 30 days in the
Wow.
desert at this point.
Wow.
And I'm like looking up and I'm just saying, Lord, why isn't he down? And I heard, crawl up the steps. I said, okay. I crawled up I had 2 flights of steps to go up, and I went into our master bathroom, and sadly, he died. He passed away of a massive heart attack in the shower.
Wow.
So I tried to resuscitate him, called 911, happened also quickly. I was then taken away and bang, just like that. So now I had another journey. I had another challenge.
Yeah. Wow.
I had one more week of TPN, extremely in not a obvious good place at this point. I'm going to be very honest with you that I did contemplate at that point, like, what do I have to live for? Like,
wow.
Lord, he kept me alive.
Yeah.
All this time. It's my turn to take care of him next. And he just took him from me. I don't want to be around anymore. And I thought about it for a moment. I truly did. And obviously my kids were there, and adult children, and many, many other people. And because of not only my faith, but because of the community, which is extremely important. Obviously, that did not happen to where I knew that God had a reason for me to continue.
Yeah.
I don't know what that reason was at that point, at that moment,
Yeah.
but I knew there was a reason for me to keep going.
Yeah. It, so many people look at the world. If you look at the world again and lean on our own understanding, it's pretty
Mhm.
bad, right? I mean, what happened to you is
Really bad.
pretty bad. I mean, like really, but you look at the world sometimes and you say, "Oh my God, if there's a God, how could this happen? How could
Mhm.
these people be
Yeah,
starving?" But there you go in Proverbs written 3,000 years ago when you don't lean on it, implores you not to lean on your level of understanding, your level of understanding.
strength, because you're
Right,
not strong enough.
right.
You truly are not. You're
And
not
we don't
strong
know, and
enough.
we don't know God's will. We
No,
don't know
no,
why. That's not the trust part is the key. When you trust, you don't have to lean on your own level of understanding.
exactly.
So,
Because I had that personal relationship.
yeah,
And I don't, it couldn't have gotten any worse in
right. Oh
those
my
6
goodness.
weeks that what I had gone through. And, I knew that um, the Lord had a plan for me.
Mm,
And I just had to keep getting better. And I
yeah.
knew my husband was in a good place. He loved the Lord. He loved God. He was on the worship team. He played the guitar. He used to play with Alice Cooper, actually, way
Wow.
back.
Wow.
He was an awesome guitar player. Um, just I knew where he was, and
Mhm.
I was okay with that after time,
Yeah.
obviously
Yeah. Sure.
passed.
Sure.
So let's zoom ahead here.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I just want to mention something, and this is not. And look, I used to be a runner, and this is not any. It's this is anecdotal. Okay, what I'm going to say, I just want to preface it, but I know, unfortunately, too many people who their primary method of exercise was running who
yes.
ended up with pretty bad stuff like cancer. And I remember when I was training for the New York Marathon years ago,
Mhm.
within our running group, there were like 3 or 4 people who came down with various types of cancer. And I'm not saying that there's a direct association, but what I am saying is that the pounding and
Yeah.
the monofocal kind of exercise that you do does stress certain parts of the immune system. And yeah, nobody's really studied. Again, this is very anecdotal. I don't want it, but I think in my impression, especially as I get older, um, I feel it's so important to have a variety
Mm,
of fitness, not just to focus on one
correct.
individual type of exercise. So anyway, go ahead, fast forward. You recovered, okay,
I
obviously.
recovered,
Um,
and I was a widow, and I made a vow that I would just kind of get myself back into my not just running, but I used to teach all different types of classes and cycling and back then aerobics, quote unquote,
mhm.
but boot camp classes and so forth. So I stayed single. I wasn't planning on ever getting remarried again. And then I had some friends that said, hey, it's about time that maybe you just kind of get out there. And I
How,
said,
how
why?
long
I'm
was it?
fine.
How long was it, Dee, would you say?
It was about 2.5 years.
Yeah, and I think, it's that's an important point. And again, we're covering a lot of things here, but this
I
is all
know.
about health. This is
It
really
is.
health
It is.
is not just about the body. It's mind, body, and spirit,
Exactly.
and it all intertwines. And when one has a loss like that, it does take time to recover. But
Oh, it does.
right, but we owe it to the people who are deceased to live our life. It's not our time. We don't want to die along with the person. God took that person at
Exactly.
that time. That was their time, right? Obviously, it wasn't your time, Dee, because you were
No.
around. So I know that your husband would want you to keep living, and obviously God didn't take you, so God wants you to keep living. So anyway,
Exactly.
continue with that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I had a very dear friend that decided to put me on one of the single websites. And I think it was called Our Time. And I kind of fought that for a while. And she persisted
Mm.
to have me get on that website. And I said, oh, I don't want to agree to this, but I will. And I had a few photos and I did. And I met the most wonderful man ever
That's great.
today.
Yeah.
We've been married for 10 years
Mm.
and he's great. He's just so supportive.
Mm.
He is the one that got me into CrossFit.
Oh, he created a monster. That's what I tell my friend who got me into
He created a
it.
monster, big time. He
Right.
sure did.
Yeah. Wow. That's
Yeah,
great.
he no longer does CrossFit. He still stays in really great shape, but um, I got the bug. And, I remember picking up a barbell. I gained my weight back up to a certain point. I gained, right now I weigh about 115, which is where I started. It took me from 2012
Mm.
to 2025
Wow.
to gain
Wow.
my starting weight
Mm.
from when I was diagnosed.
Mm.
Took that long.
Wow. Well, it's interesting because uh, would you say that running was your primary
Yes,
exercise? Okay, so you were probably very lean, but
very.
runners don't have a lot of muscle tone. They might
Not
have
at
some in
all.
their legs, but it's not much. But a CrossFit athlete, it's much more the muscle tone, and as we age, we're
Mhm.
programmed to lose muscle. So
Correct.
CrossFit is a way to counteract that. So I'm sure that your weight now is probably healthier for your skeleton to
It
move your
is.
skeleton than it was actually when you were running. Um, so your husband got you involved, and tell us a little bit about what it was like to get started, because a lot of people are nervous about it. They're afraid.
Mhm.
They when they walk into the gym the first time, and here I'm saying, oh, if you walk into the gym, you're an athlete, and they're saying, oh my God, I was an athlete. I'm not an athlete. I'm a couch potato, or I never picked up a weight in my life or threw a ball or whatever. So what was that
Exactly.
like when you got into
Yeah,
this?
it's scary. I remember looking at a barbell, which is 35 pounds, and I said to my husband, and I was saying to my coach, this is really heavy. Like, I don't think I can do this. I mean, I had
Mm,
my doubts, and I was very athletic anyway,
yeah,
but 35 pounds was really heavy. And to learn all the different movements without even putting weight on was intimidating.
yeah,
It truly was. Being I'm 5'2" and shrinking. So, looking at a wall ball and thinking, how am I going to get it up to that mark of,
yeah,
9 feet? Like, I'm going to have to jump to get up there. How am I going to do this gymnastics stuff that they want us to do? It was intimidating, but I will tell you, coming from running and doing boot camp classes, I played lacrosse, I
mm,
played softball. I've always been pretty athletic and I've always tried many different things. I love to snow ski, water ski, ice skating. I don't do as much anymore, but I've never done a sport that has given me so much joy for many reasons, not only challenging myself and challenging my body, challenging my mind. And having a community that
Mm,
helps you through every step of the way, along with your tremendous coaches.
mm.
So, yes, it is intimidating, but in the long run, once you just take every step by step and you listen and you learn and you repeat and repeat, you are going to be totally shocked
Mm,
with the outcome. You don't have to be a competitive athlete. Not everyone wants to compete. That's
yeah,
not within that should not be within the mindset at all, especially in the beginning.
yeah.
But you are going to really feel every part of your system being turned on that's
Mm.
been shut off. So I have many friends that I try to talk with to say, okay, I know this is intimidating, but I want you to come with me. I want you to we're going to take it slow. The coaches, they're all trained, very highly trained. They know how to work with every age level.
Mm.
They know exactly when to push you a little further. You have to trust them. Do you trust me? And they look at me and they go, no. We don't.
Right. Yeah. Well, they look
But
at your fitness level and they get,
yeah,
oh my God. Yeah.
yeah, they kind of they backpedal a little bit. But that did not happen overnight. I didn't start CrossFit until about 2017.
Hmm.
I actually did a first open in 2016, and then I had gotten very sick with like the flu and
Mm.
I had to bag out. So like 2017 on, I never knew, you know, open thinking, pushing my body to that level. What's that all about? And I thought, well, what do I have to lose? I've already been here and back, so let's just try it.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And
Yeah.
I'm a cardio. I mean, that's my strength.
Yeah.
I, I can whip those double unders out and I can
Yeah.
do this and I can do that.
You
But you
must
give
be
me the
great with
wall ball.
burpees, right? And the
Yeah,
wall
the
balls.
burpees. I
Yeah.
love those burpees.
Oh boy.
Oh, I love them. I love to stand
Right.
next to like a really great athlete, like, your games. I'm right underneath the game athletes. Even though
Yeah.
I went to the games last year
Yeah.
uh, on a team, a 55 plus team, and we
Yeah.
had a blast and did well. But like Denise Moore, very great friend, Kathy Teal, all these are all like top 25.
Yeah.
Teresa, and Teresa's really good at, you don't want to stand next to her doing burpees, but like you want to have all these great athletes. We're all really great friends. And that's the other part of CrossFit
Hmm.
is the community.
Yeah.
It truly is.
Yeah. It is
And
because yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, there is something to be said about um, what CrossFit does, mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah.
And mind, psychologically, when you have a community that's behind you and they want you to feel good about what you're doing. And they
Hmm.
want you to, and you have a coaches, and they want you to do very well. That takes care of the psychological part of anything you decide to do. And man, that is not even the big plus with what happens with the body, which, we're all living longer today. We want to be able to do the things that make us happy.
Yeah.
So the physical part of that is an enhancement when you do CrossFit. And this analogy of people saying, oh my gosh, well, I can't start CrossFit. I'm 50, 60 years old. You sure can start
Uh-huh.
CrossFit.
Yeah. And you
Hey,
better,
you
honestly, because
better. You
because
better.
yeah, look, we want health span, not lifespan. I think most people want health span. They want to live as long as their days have been determined to live, You want them
Correct.
to be healthy. You have that choice to
Yeah.
do the things and God given, take advantage of what's given to us. And if nothing changes, if you do nothing, you definitely will lose bone mass and shrink, like you said. You'll lose muscle mass, and you won't be able to protect your bones. So when you slip on that ice, you won't be able to catch yourself, reequilibrate, and you'll go down
Exactly.
and break a hip or a knee or a shoulder or whatever.
Yeah.
And these are things that if you do it, it's not saying those things won't happen, but you'll be able to recover much more
Correctly.
quickly. Yes.
You will.
And the community, as you're saying, we have every a few times a year bring a friend to CrossFit, and uh, my I have a close friend. As I was joking, he created a monster because he's no longer doing CrossFit anymore. But I am. He's created a, and I'm really and I enjoy it. I've been doing it now for just about 7 years, and um, yeah, it's just if you feel tired, you go to class and it perks you up, and you just
Yeah.
we did.
Our minds really sadly take us into a very negative space a lot of times.
Yeah.
And it's very powerful, when you hear that inner voice all the time saying you can't do this and you can't
Hmm.
do that. And as we age, we do have a little bit more of that fear
Hmm.
on some of the things that used to be very easy for us.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just part of aging.
Right. Of course.
Um, yeah, but there is nothing like the power of a mindset that you get put into a situation and you accomplish that at an older age
Hmm.
bracket.
Yeah.
You come out of there thinking, oh my gosh, I never thought I could do that. If I can do that, I can do something else.
Yes, absolutely. You
So the
do feel
mind,
that confidence, that,
yeah,
and you listen,
powerful.
yeah, you listen to that soft inner voice, which is
Yeah.
God's gift to us. I mean, God speaks
Yeah.
to us, and the Spirit speaks to us,
Yes.
and when I,
Uh,
that is there are many affirmations that one could say. So, for instance, today we we're getting ready for the Open, so we did
yeah.
2017, the Open, where it was 55 deadlifts, 55
Oh,
wall balls,
oh,
55 calories on the rower, and 55 for me push-ups, not the
yeah.
handstand push-ups. So, an AMRAP. I didn't finish it. I got through the push-ups, almost,
That's
to the push-ups.
great.
But what was my affirmation? My affirmation at 65 years old
Hmm.
was, "Thank you, God. Thank
Yeah.
you for this health.
Yeah.
Thank you." So every point,
Yes.
so you're doing 55, you're doing those not unbroken. You have to break them
Right.
up. So
Yeah.
how many times you pause and you say, "Oh God, I can't do this anymore." This is like, yeah, thank you, God,
Yeah.
for the health. Yes, I can do it. Thank you for that strength. Thank you, and that type of gratitude is very powerful
It is.
it's yeah. So
I talk to God all day. In fact,
yeah.
when I'm around the house and my husband will come in and he catches me talking, he's like, who are you talking to? I said, well, you know who I'm talking to?
Yeah.
Like it's a constant thing. I'm not going crazy. I will let you know if that happens, if
Right.
my
Right.
mindset is kind of going, but
Right.
no,
Well, skeptics will say,
yeah,
okay, that, oh, you're
yeah,
schizophrenic or whatever, but
yeah,
you look at I mean, not you, one is schizophrenic. Yeah.
yeah,
Because that,
exactly.
I wrote a book in 2008 called Brain Drain. And I talked about my experience of coming face to face with what I called my internal guide, which I've come to learn was the Holy Spirit. And,
Mhm.
um, I said to my patients who read that, I said, now you know that your doctor is a psychopath, right? Is
Yeah,
schizoid, right? But see, this is the thing that if you look at,
yeah,
I would say doing that, you are much healthier You're
Yeah.
much more grounded. You
Very.
are able to navigate the world and the craziness in the world by doing that. And
Mhm.
whereas somebody who is mentally ill cannot do that, they cannot
Correct.
separate reality. And actually, them doing it is actually a grandiose doing it. It's a way to. I talk about one-upping. So that's our primitive reaction in life. That's our animal nature, is to be above people, is to be above others, because that's how, or flee. So you fight by being above, and you run away in fear to avoid. And so somebody who has psychiatric illness, who
Mhm.
is talking to God or whatever, or hearing voices, whatever, it's more of a grandiose away. It's actually it's a primitive response for them to be empowered over other people, to be greater or better
Right.
than other people. Whereas people who are grounded, as you are in Christianity, who speak to God and like that, you're not doing it because, oh, I can do this better than other people. Oh,
No, not
I'm
at all.
better. Oh, I'm a better prayer than other people, or
No,
I could talk to God better than other people. No,
no, not at
it's
all.
no, of course, it's a humility, it's a humbleness in the eyes
Yes.
of this awesome greatness. So that's how I look at that when
Yeah.
somebody says that, oh, that's crazy, whatever. No, it's actually very grounding
Is
and
grounding. And
yeah,
there's many gifts that we all have. We all have all different gifts.
of
And
course.
I'm very blessed to have the
Yeah,
gift of discernment.
yeah.
And I can tell you stories of walking with a friend and having another friend within that area that we were walking. And she was dying of cancer, and we didn't know how much lung cancer. We did not know the amount of time she had left. And I felt a tug, and I heard a voice, and God said, "Go pray over her right now.
Mm, mm,
Just walk in and they will come." That's what
mm.
I heard.
Wow.
So I said to my girlfriend, I said, "Let's go. We're going to Bee's house right now. She's right around the corner." And she looked at me like, "Well, I don't think we should just go." And I said, "Oh, yeah, we're going." So we did. And
Mm.
we went, and her daughter was there, and the nurse was there. And we walked in, and we went out into on the deck. And I said, "B, I want to pray over you, but we need to wait a few minutes because they will come." She kind of looked at me. She didn't believe in God.
Right. Yeah.
And one by one, 10 people came, different
Wow.
individuals
Mm.
ringing that doorbell, were unannounced, and came, and we prayed over her. And I knew it was time for her to go home. It was close. We all knew that, but I could just hear God tell me, "She believes. I got her."
Mm. Wow.
And she did. She died the next day.
Wow.
Hopefully she's up there, and
Yeah.
I'm hoping to see her again.
Mm, yeah,
So,
that's a wonderful story. So, it's obviously you get a lot of nutrition from the soul.
I do.
Yeah, but is there anything that you do? And I ask my guests this, nutritionally or supplement wise, that you feel has really helped you in your CrossFit
Definitely.
journey? Yeah.
Yeah. And my CrossFit journey, I've kind of taken it maybe a little further than what a typical average, individual does or did. Um, last year I came in 53rd in the world, the year before
Amazing.
35 in the world.
Awesome.
I,
Wow.
I went out there, and I don't toot my horn on that. I don't
No.
even like talking about that. To tell you the truth, I don't
Well,
like talking about myself.
no, I love
But
it. It's great. It's
um,
great.
the reason why I do it is to encourage other people, is to
Yes.
motivate other people, is to come on to someone like yourself, your show, your podcast, and talk about how I got there. And
Right.
it didn't happen overnight. And it's taken many, many years of consistent nutrition, which we'll talk about, just consistent okay, this is what I need to do. This is what I want to do. I love
Yeah.
it. God's with me. I know I can do this. And believe me, I've been in the man cave or woman cave, whatever you want to call it, when
Mhm.
you're doing a WOD and you're seeing stars. Yeah, I've been there. No, I
Yeah.
put myself there, but
Yes.
that's what I did. Um, so it's been wonderful doing all these competitions all over. I've just met so many great people, but nutrition wise, extremely important.
Yeah.
Um, I can tell you it's challenging for me because of my digestive system.
Hmm.
So I'm not the typical norm athlete here
Hmm.
that can put 100 grams of protein in a day.
Hmm.
I can't do it. I wish I could, but I can't. So I try when I'm competing, or even just knowing I'm going to go into the box 5 days a week, and they're pretty hard wads because I can see them, before I go
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to bulk up on protein. Meaning, I'm going to try to eat as much as I can. That includes protein powder for a protein shake. That includes my typical meats such as chicken. I cannot have red meat. I cannot digest that.
Hmm.
So chicken and turkey. And I'm trying to get to like 70 grams if I can of
Hmm.
protein. The creatine also, 2 gummies a day helps me a
Hmm.
lot of, I don't eat a lot of salad, believe it or not, due
Hmm.
to the fact that I can't
Yeah.
process
Yep.
that. So I'm eating protein and carbs, good carbs,
Yep.
some bad ones too here and there,
Yeah.
depending
Hmm.
what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I'm eating like every 2 hours.
Hmm.
Um, I prepare a lot of vegetables, meaning good vegetables, like
Hmm.
not salad, but like broccoli and
Hmm.
carrots and the peppers and just really good hearty
Hmm.
vegetables. So nutrition is important. Open is coming up, so I
How about
almost
hydration? Are you focused on that?
oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
amino acids all the time as well. Hydration, the electrolytes,
Hmm.
Fit Aid. I love Fit Aid.
Hmm.
I mean, I can have 3 Fit Aids a day. When I'm competing, I'm always having a Fit Aid after, competition for a while. Usually we have 2 or 3 in a day, depending on, which one. So yes, electrolytes, very important. Hydration, a lot of, water, good filtered water. Taking a lot of my vitamins, not your typical vitamin, but glucosamine and things of that nature
Hmm.
to help with the recovery. Recovery is really the key at this age.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
the key. What
Yeah.
you're taking for recovery is definitely the key.
Yeah. That's a good point. So, thank you so much, Dee. I'm going to ask you a rapid fire list of questions.
Sure.
Whatever comes to your mind, I have to put my glasses on for this, comes first, you just answer it. Okay, so it's this or that.
Okay.
Thrusters or burpees?
Burpees.
Assault bike or rower?
Oh, definitely rower.
Deadlift or back squat?
Oh, I love the back squat.
Power snatch or clean and jerk?
Oh, clean and jerk.
All right.
Forget
Wall,
the snatch.
right. Wall balls or devil's press?
Oh, devil's press.
Right. That devil's press is a good one. I like that too.
Oh, wall balls, I'm sure. Devil's press cardio. Look out.
Yeah, great. Well, Dee, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your journey and really embracing what I love and in my career as a doctor, really loved when people would understand that you don't just come to a doctor to help take care of you. You go to the doctor to share your life with them and to tell them that it's not only the body that's important to somebody. We all have a spiritual life, a mindful existence, and all of that comes together. And you're a great example of that. Thank you, so much. And
Oh, thank
and
you.
good luck in the Open coming up. We'd like to see you in the CrossFit Games, wherever it's going to be this year. I don't know.
I
I
don't know
won't be
about
there,
this
but
year. Third year in, maybe 70. We'll see. We're going to
okay.
keep striving and moving forward.
Yeah, that's great. And everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. And as you know, I'm Dr. Charles, aka Coach MD, urging you to stay strong in mind, in body, and right here in soul.
Amen.
Bye for now.